That's why Turkish politics in turmoil. The problem is that Erdogan faced the term limits. He was prime minister 3 times, president 3 times, but the constitution says you can only be president twice. But there is another problem. There's a much more popular competitor, Istanbul Mayor Ekrem Imamoglu. And Erdogan doesn't have any chance to win against him. A day after that, Imamoglu was arrested with 100 of his staff members. And on the day of primary, he was sent to jail. And people reacted. There was a mass reaction. Normally 50 million people vote in Turkish elections, and on that day, in a single simple primary, 15 million show up, voted for Imamoglu, show their reaction to Erdogan, and show their support to Imamoglu. Turkish politics in the last 22 years has had a single leader, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. And this is a very unusual thing, even in Turkey with a problematic democracy. Since the time of Ottoman Empire, we never had such a single leader over 2 decades. But now, Erdogan is in big trouble. That's why Turkish politics in turmoil. The problem is that Erdogan faced the term limits. He was prime minister 3 times, president 3 times, but the constitution says you can only be president twice. The 3rd time, he had an explanation that after constitutional amendments, he was given 1 extra chance, but it is done. In 3 years, there will be election and he cannot run again. But he wants to run again and again for life. So that's why he is planning to lift the restrictions, make him constitutionally able to run again. But there is another problem. There's a much more popular competitor, Istanbul Mayor Ekrem Imamoglu. And Erdogan doesn't have any chance to win against him. Why? Because Erdogan's popularity is declining. He is aging, 72 years old. Many people want change. They are bored with seeing the same leader for over 2 decades. Plus, Erdogan is mismanaging economy. In the first 10 years of his rule, he had good ministers, like Minister of Economy Ali Babacan. But in the last 10 years, especially last 5 years, he tried to handle himself economy, and he couldn't do that. And he created single-handedly an economic crisis. And his policy of interest, sidelining the Turkish monetary fund, was a disaster, resulted in over 50% inflation. Some people think sometimes it's reached to 100% inflation. 5 years ago, Turkish lira was valuable. $1 means 8 Turkish lira. Today, $1 means 40 Turkish lira. And Turkey is having multiple crises at the same time. And that makes Erdogan increasingly unpopular. Whereas there is an alternative, Ekrem Imamoglu, mayor of Istanbul, 20 years younger, able to bring together both the secularist appeal and Islamic appeal. Because Imamoglu is a big tent candidate. He is from Mustafa Kemal Atatürk's secular party, Republican People Party, CHP. But at the same time, he is a conservative Muslim background, family background. He is able to reach out women with headscarves. He is able to recite the Quran in a mosque. And this is not a typical secularist candidate, but he is a bridge candidate, bring together both secularist and Islamic voters. He is also able to reach out to Kurds, while having good relations with nationalist voters. So this candidate Imamoglu defeated Erdogan's party candidate in Istanbul election 6 years ago. Erdogan was unhappy, of course, and he got the election results cancelled. Of course, with certain institutional medium. Elections was repeated. Imamoglu won an even larger margin. 1 year ago, last year, he won even a bigger victory in municipal election in Istanbul. Now, he is of course charged judicially. So one may ask, what is the charges against him is purely political or not? We can start with timing. Last Sunday, 23rd of March, the opposition party, which in fact became the primary party in Turkey's municipal election, getting more votes than Erdogan's party, CHP. This party was planning to have a primary where Ekrem Imamoglu expected to be voted to be the presidential nominee of the party in the next election. And 2 days before the primary, with the pressure from Erdogan administration, Istanbul University cancelled the college degree of Imamoglu. So that was a big shock, even among some supporters of Erdogan, and people asked, how come you could cancel a college degree of someone after 35 years? It means that nothing really predictable and no contract is reliable under these circumstances. A day after that, Imamoglu was arrested with 100 of his staff members, and on the day of primary, he was sent to jail. There was a mass reaction. Normally 50 million people vote in Turkish elections, and on that day, in a single simple primary, 15 million show up, voted for Imamoglu, show their reaction to Erdogan, and show their support to Imamoglu. And the reaction to Erdogan was not limited by that primary, but hundreds of thousands of young people came out, protested the government, and then they showed their reaction to Erdogan's policy of putting Imamoglu in jail in Istanbul, Ankara public protest. So now, what is going on in the future? Turkey is an essential country. In my book, Islam, Authoritarianism and Underdevelopment, I discussed the problem of authoritarianism in many Muslim countries, and Turkey appears to be one of the few cases where liberal democracy can be re-established. If Turkey achieved democratization again, it will have a substantial impact on the rest of the Muslim world. It will also be very much important for the worldwide trend of populism. Today, from United States to Europe, from India to Russia, many countries are ruled by populist leaders, and Erdogan, together with Putin, is one of the pioneering of populist leaders around the globe. If this important populist leader Erdogan face a popular reaction, lose an election, that will have a huge implications for the global movement of populism. For the future, people also ask whether being jailed for Imamoglu may become a credit, because the same thing almost happened to Erdogan himself. 25 years ago, Erdogan was put in jail when he was a mayor of Istanbul. Then he came out and became the leader of the country. Can Imamoglu do the same? It depends. Because 25 years ago, Erdogan received substantial support from the West. United States, was willing to see Turkey as a democratic country. European Union was discussing full membership with Turkey. European institutions, especially Court of Human Rights, was supporting Erdogan's case, and Erdogan defeated the military generals with certain support coming from Western institutions. This time now everything is different. United States is no longer support democracy in Turkey or anywhere else. Even the democracy in America itself is under crisis. European Union no longer consider Turkey seriously as a candidate, and European countries only focus on migration issue. Therefore, they give full credit to Erdogan as long as Erdogan do not send migrants to Europe. And now, after Donald Trump cut the military relations with Europe to a large extent, Europeans started to see Turkey as an important military ally. Therefore, they are not going to criticize Erdogan. So Imamoglu and others who want to make Turkey democracy again have no support, and they should rely on domestic sources only. And the young people, the young generation, who are mostly constitute the protest movement, are the only hope for the future of democratization in Turkey.